echoes. I think they're good.
We're good. All right. So here's the deal. I know that you're pretty much like a big deal. So I tune in every once in a while and hang out, and you're always talking about something half decent. But the other night, my husband came in and he goes, Kevin Jordan has Pastily and Veritas up on his stream right now. And he's talking about some cool shit. You should listen. And or maybe you don't know, but I'm on the team with them, and they're very good friends of mine. So
Right.
Of course, I was like, okay, let me see what you're talking about. And
talking mad shit, yeah, just mad shit. All this drama. Oh my god, I'm glad we can get down to it.
Right. So, sorry guys, he wasn't actually talking shit. Yeah, everybody probably got really excited there, but you were talking about how high level gamers, they want to change things about the game. Now, you used a term that, listen, I grew up on a ranch, only female on the ranch, so the term you used absolutely did not bother me at all. But I will say for my stream, I won't use that term. But let's say, you basically said that high level gamers, instead of going through the dating process with the game, which is really, really important, they're just looking for the end product. And I'm sure that all the adults in the room can figure out what I'm talking about here.
Right.
But when you're talking about high level gamers and how they approach things and how they've changed, like, that really interested me, because I've only been playing games for 3 years. I haven't really been into gaming.
Right.
But yeah, I kind of wanted to expand on that. And also, if you could just maybe tell my chat, if they don't know who you are, if you want to introduce yourself, that would be awesome.
Yeah, my name's Kevin Jordan. I was one of the original 3 game designers on World of Warcraft. And I worked at some other studios as well, including Blizzard and Obsidian Entertainment. And I've got just under 20 years of game design experience in my career until very recently, and I started streaming full time. So I've been at it for almost 3 years now. And it's been a trip, but yeah, I've throughout my experiences, I've had to deal with a pretty wide range of players, and Twitch is kind of a new phenomenon. Like we didn't have anything like Twitch. We barely had YouTube going when we were working on WoW. So we had no expectations when it came to Twitch's impact and YouTube's impact on the way players have always played the game, but have not been able to influence, the wider marketplace the way they can nowadays, right? So it's been really interesting to see, the players actually, evolve in a lot of ways. And then that impact then push towards the designers of games and the way they make games. So it's been a pretty fascinating thing to watch. But yeah, high-end players they have different attitudes, just like you would expect in anything in life. There's people that are achievers and achievement minded, and there are people that are more chill and casual and about their approach to things. So those very sort of mindsets or personality traits get carried into gaming as well.
Yeah, and something that you had said is, they think that they're helping the game, of course, because you kind of get this expectation of, I've played this game this long, I'm pretty much, pro at it, so I would know what needs to be changed.
Right, for
and
sure.
You do truly lose. You equated it literally to dating and the romance phase, and you get giggly when you meet that person that you like, and all those things are really important. But damn it, when you're married and it's 5 years later, if you could just make me a meal, I'd be happy, type thing.
Right. Yeah. So things change, and also, like, one of the big things about our brains and about our bodies is that we acclimate to everything. We're always trying to acclimate to whatever our environment is. So if your environment is, really extreme in some sense, then if you spend enough time in that, you're going to get more used to it, whether it's loud music at a concert or, when you're going to hike a mountain, you stay at a base camp overnight so you can acclimate to the less oxygen. Like, our bodies are always trying to do these things where we get used to things, and that makes it harder to impress us, right? Same is true with gaming. Like, the level that you guys play at, is so fast and so intense, and you're so used to, that guy can be around the corner, I have to be ready to deal with it, that your brains, get acclimated. And so it's harder to jump scare you. It's harder to basically push you to that emotional experience that you first had when you started playing Tarkov. And so this is the danger, is that when you guys are making suggestions on how to improve the game, it's from a standpoint of, or it can be from a standpoint of, well, the game just doesn't get me going like it used to. And then a game designer hears that, and he's trying to make sure that you're not getting bored, but the things he has to do to get a tickle out of you is going to have a dramatic impact on sort of the average player who's still getting
Games is enabling this hot mess.
jump scared, and his mind's getting blown constantly.
Right.
So the things he has, the game designer would have to do to impress you is going to blow him out of the game, right? It's just going to be too much. It's going to be overpowering, right? So it's a weird part of psychology, but psychology is a huge part of game design, in my opinion. And it's one of those things that, again, high level gamers don't necessarily appreciate, because high level gamers or very professional gamers are very achievement oriented. They're very single minded. They're very narrowly focused on achieving and being the best.
Mm-hmm.
And those very traits that make them awesome at what they do make it difficult for them to understand the way other people play and the way other people experience the game and everything else. So it can be a risk, for game designers. And one of the things I want to clarify is that I don't think it's wrong that Pestily or you or Veritas or anybody expresses their opinion about where the game should go. That's exactly your role. That's the role of every player. My words are more a caution to game designers that would only listen to a Pestily or only listen to a Veritas in terms of what to do with the game. Because way more people play at a level far below, the best in the business, than people like Pestily and Veritas and you, right? You guys are the pros, and if you make changes to accommodate you guys, then so many people are going to get left in the dust.
I'm still waiting to get on Pest and Veritas's level, so when I get there, I'll let you know how bad it is.
Right. Well, when I watch
but yeah,
you play,
I get it.
It's ridiculous.
Oh well, thank you.
To my play, so
yeah, thanks. That means a lot. That is one thing that is not lost on me. I think the new players, just because I talk to a lot of new players quite often,
right.
And I spend a lot of time being a Sherpa. So
right.
Hearing you talk about these things, I just never thought of it from a developer's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's literally the dad or the mom that's just trying to please everybody. But sometimes the loudest or the oldest voice can really get that attention. And when you mentioned just not even thinking about the consequence that can happen to the rest of the community, I thought, Jesus Christ, they are handling so much. They really are. And I just didn't think of it that way. And so I really wanted people to kind of hear your experience with it. So can you tell me where you've had experience with the situation where you've been oh shit, we listened to so-and-so,
right,
and you could watch the ripples happen?
It's funny. But just to comment on the thing you were saying as well, Pestily sure is one guy, right? He'll say something, he'll say this is what needs to happen with the game, right? But because he's such an aspirational figure, everyone wants to be Pestily, right, at the game. That they start to adopt his mindset as well. That's why, the word influencer is used, because, people, if they want to be like him and play like him, they should think like him, right? And so his comments become magnified all over the internet. People will go to Reddit and say the things he said or post clips of him saying a thing, and that becomes suddenly this movement for change in whatever small thing he happened to mention, and it's that easy. So it's not just one voice, it's it ends up being thousands and thousands of voices, right? And that's the difficulty with game designers, trying to weed out or convert that this is what Pestily wants versus this is what everyone wants.
Yeah, that would be hard. I will say, Pest is one of my good friends, and
subbed for 6 months. And
there has been times where he suggested things and then turn around and realize that he suggested a 1 penny change, and of course Reddit turned it into $500, and he's gotten so much shit. I would say more than positivity when it comes to changes, because I think we're just instinctively against changes. We want changes, but actually implementing them and make them happen can be a completely different thing for our brain.
Oh, right. And historically, I think that Battlestate Games has actually been, and Nikita have been very good at resisting, the influence a lot of people have. Like they have a very strong vision for what they want, and they've been pretty stubborn, which is a good thing for game designers, to have the right amount of stubbornness or ego, as I call it, to like resist. You want to listen, but you don't want to sacrifice or change your vision, to accommodate.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people happy about group. That. They said people will come in and they'll explain themselves to Nikita over and over again, and he'll listen and then go, no.
Right.
And then just go on about his life. And they're so, what do you mean?
How
no.
Dare you?
Right. Like, do you know who the hell I am? One of those things,
Yeah. And then they go to the insult phase, right? It's like, well, you live in your ivory tower and you have you're an egomaniac or whatever. And it's like, well, no, he's just trying to create a specific kind of game that he set out to make. And so.
Yeah, I think it was really bad last January after the first Drops event, because just people started coming for him left and right. And it was just a shit show. But I really admire how they stand their ground.
Yeah, and the trick there is, we're all human beings and we want to be liked. So when we're a public figure, and people are bashing us every day because we're unwilling to change, that can really add up, And so, like I said, you have to have the right amount of ego to be able to resist that temptation to just make everybody happy. Like you mentioned parenting, we go through the same things in parenting too, right? It's like there's more at stake than just making our kids happy all the time, right? So and we take it seriously.
So the big effect that can take place is pretty interesting, because again, they come in with a big name or a big suggestion that gets some ground, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a big, huge influencer, but maybe somebody medium-sized starts a wave and tries to get something going. What consequences at the end is what you are concerned about, or that you have seen done? Because on a high level, you've probably watched this a few times.
Oh yeah, and this is kind of the story of WoW. A lot of this, because over time, like a game comes out, it's really popular. People start to excel at it, and the people that excel at it are not only very good at the game, but then sometimes go on to be streamers or whatever it is. And they're well spoken, they're intelligent, they're charismatic. Like all the things that make them, sort of superstars in the gaming community. Are all the same things that make them attractive hires for game dev teams, right? We're gonna hire Pestily to work on Tarkov because he's just so knowledgeable and he's intelligent and he works hard and he's like, oh, that seems like a great hire, right? But it's like, but he's not a game designer, right? So that could be a tricky end result, right? But what I've seen in my experience is that a lot of people like that do get hired into the game dev spots, and then they start making changes that they want to see, and things shift pretty dramatically and towards away from the original vision, right? Or away from the original intent of the game. So I'll give you a specific example of Tarkov related. Over the weekend, I was watching Pest, and the conversation came up about Killa, and people in chat were like, "Yeah, Killa can be dropped in the first 2 minutes of an interchange map. And the sort of consensus in chat was that's ridiculous, that should be changed. And so I started thinking a lot about Killa, and it's like, okay, so the best in the world can drop, some of the best players in the world can drop Killa within 2 minutes. So let's just say that's true, right? And it probably is. I've seen Blitzer Girl get her tracksuit recently, and it's crazy how fast she is, how efficient she is. But then I think about my experience when I go with the boys down to interchange. He's like this terrifying force in the middle of the mall, right?
Yeah, me too.
And we try to avoid him like the plague. And every once in a while, we'll get the courage to go after him, and he'll wipe half our squad, and maybe we'll get lucky and kill him once, and it'll just be like Discord will go crazy because we got him, and it was super exciting. We got a little bit of gear, and even the people that died are like having fun and having this massively joyful experience, right? So that's my experience. And again, like more people play at my level, I think, than play at Blitzer Girl's level, right? And so let's say that the developers were like, okay, we got to change Killa because everyone thinks, he's dying too fast. And so let's come up with targets, or let chat come up with targets and be like, what should our target be? Our target should be, it takes at least a 3-man squad, and you have to have 9 grenades and 3 stims each, and really good armor and really good weapons. And it's a 10-minute fight of running all over the mall and, just executing perfectly, right? And it's like, okay, well now, the best in the world are like, okay, that was the intent, but I'm the best in the world. So now it takes me 4 minutes to kill Killa, right? That was the target, but the best in the world are so good, right, that they've reduced it down to it's 4 minutes now. Meanwhile, guys like me and my group can't even touch Killa. He's literally an impossibility, right? So Killa's just off the table in terms of like me having that joyful experience, right? And so that's the trick, is like, again, if you're trying to set the game design to get a rise or get an emotional experience or challenge Blitzer Girl and Pestily and everybody who just destroys him because they're pros, you're going to leave behind everyone sort of below that level, right? And is that a good change? Like at the end of the day, is it good that, there's a boss that only the best in the world can kill? It might be, but just be aware of, who you're leaving out of that equation when it comes to, fun gameplay moments when you're making changes to slow down the very best in the world.
Yeah, because I know when I started Tarkov, I literally was like, where's my kill cam? How do I know how I died? Where the hell are you? What are you wearing? Why isn't your name above your head? I mean, I was just completely, baffled, and was like, where's the gear? I remember being very upset because I was like, where the hell's the gear I had on when I died? And they're like, no, it's gone. It's in the raid. So we can forget pretty quickly, I guess, how it feels to start out in this game. But
yeah, not knowing where the extracts are, like yes. Another favorite of mine is not knowing that when you were looting a guy, you could scroll down and see where his backpack was.
Oh no!
Like I didn't even know there was more to loot, right? So, just so many little things. But I think that's some of the reason that we love Tarkov versus other games out there, is because of that that challenge and that constant sense of there's more to learn, and there are so many skills I have to get better at. It's not just clicking heads, there's so many ways to be successful in this game, and very few people are masters at all of them, right? So
right.
It creates this really interesting dynamic where it attracts a lot of different types of players that are good at all kinds of different things, and creates a really great team play, dynamic, because some people are just better at, certain things. And so those are great elements, right?
Yeah.
That I think if we were to dumb down or limit or remove, would just make Tarkov weaker, in terms of its the fact that it's such an amazing game.
Yeah, because this is something that I talk about a lot is it is the exact same game. I hand everybody an EOD edition. It can be played 45 different ways and depending on your mood. Do you want to go rat around? Are you all about learning and pushing fights? There's just so many options.
Yeah.
Even now versus when I started 3 years ago, there's a lot more options.
Right. And the solo experience plays very different than the duo experience, which plays different than the 5-man experience. And they're all fun in their own way. But yeah, very different. So the game scales really well based on your group size as well.
Yep. I agree on that. So if you don't know, I actually do a lot of tournaments because back in the day, we were so bored. You could tell that wipe was going to happen soon because you would just load into server after server and be really excited if you found one person. So we got bored and we decided we were going to Q snipe each other and just basically try to get into the same map. And
love it.
Yeah, so that got really fun. And but I catch a lot of shit for this, and I would like to know your opinion on it. Is they say, well, Tarkov isn't esports ready. I don't think it is on necessarily. We're not going to the World Championships for the $2 million pot tomorrow or anything like that.
Right.
But and you probably experience this too. If I waited for permission or for everybody to say, okay, now you're allowed to go make this because I agree with you, I wouldn't even be sitting here in front of a PC right now.
Yeah.
But what do you see for that side of the world of Tarkov? Do you think it was something that is going to grow? I mean, I personally do, but I would like to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, so we tend to call that kind of stuff emergent gameplay. When people have sort of exhausted the normal way to play and they've become experts and they've done it, they've been there and done that sort of thing, they start inventing new ways to get joy out of the game. And some of those ways are harmful and some of them are awesome, right? And again, that's one of those tricky things that the game designer has to look at and be like, okay, well, is this just making everybody happy and everyone's having fun doing this thing? Okay, then let's not fix it or change it or just leave it alone. Or is it damaging the core of the experience, or is it stepping on the toes of tons of other people that are trying to play the game in a normal way and they can't because this group is doing this thing constantly. It's become the new trend or whatever it is. So it can be a tricky thing to evaluate, but I haven't seen anything from the tournaments that really interferes with the broader player base in a negative way. So in fact, there are a lot of examples of the opposite, because the Punisher tournament in Factory, right? How many sweaty boys just got so excited to go in there fully geared and wreck the day of all the Punisher players.
Right. Yeah, it was super cool to watch.
So that's emergent excitement, right? Yeah, I think most of the tournament stuff, hasn't interfered with the normal play and has created new avenues to enjoy the game that get people pretty pumped. So but the question going forward is how much of that is the dev team going to formalize in terms of making it kind of official? Because that can have a change in the vision, right? If they start implementing tons of changes to accommodate the Punisher type play at the expense of the rest of the vision or whatever, then that's where you can get into trouble. But I haven't seen anything like that in terms of, okay, everyone, we're going a totally new direction, so that would be the worry, but I haven't seen anything like that. So
yeah, I would never, I would personally, myself and Evasion would never back something like that. We do love Tarkov as a whole, and we try to incorporate a lot of what we believe Tarkov is between the fear, the goal, the the looting, the surviving. There's a lot. There's not, to me, I don't like a lot of people refer to it as a Call of Duty gameplay. You just run straight in the middle and just shoot everything and run away.
Right.
Some people do. I'm totally support that. I just personally would prefer to wrap up a lot of different things into my tournaments.
Yeah, for sure. That's why we like Tarkov as opposed to Call of Duty.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I only played Call of Duty a little while, so I guess I can't necessarily, and I mean a little while, 3 nights. and they were like drunken, sure, I'll go play Call of Duty with you guys nights.
Right.
So I can't necessarily speak to that as an expert. But where do you see maybe Tarkov ending 2021 at? Is there anything, like, obviously I feel like Streets of Tarkov is going to be a huge one if we get it before the end of the year. But what is it that maybe you as a developer kind of look at it and go, God, I'd really wish I'd like to see this year come from them?
Yeah, so Streets of Tarkov is actually, I think, going to be a big moment. They probably realize how big a moment it's going to be, but I don't think a lot of the player base realizes how big the potential is for that to be a defining moment, because the map is going to be huge. The time on the map is going to be really long. And one of the things we've been seeing lately is the pacing of, matches in terms of the beginning and the, towards the end, right? The end is, the pacing really fluctuates based on how interactive everyone is on the map, right? Like, obviously Factory is just a run and gun, go, 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 and it's over real quick. But all the other 40 to 50 maps, like, they can have really big beginnings, but then really sleepy endings, especially without any scavs at all. And I think this game struggles when there are too many sleepy moments, sort of strung together. And so the pacing on Streets of Tarkov is going to be really interesting, because if they do go to, like, let's just say 90 minutes or whatever it is, I don't know if they've officially announced how long the map is, but if it has 40 players and it lasts 90 minutes, are they going to be able to sustain a fun, emotional experience or immersive experience for 90 minutes? Or is it going to be, a lot of shooting at the beginning and then 75 minutes of just running around looting and getting out? Like,
I feel like I'm going to be scared the whole time, because I'm really bad when brand new maps come out. It just overwhelms me. I'm still trying to learn. Or I feel like I turn to my friends and they're like, we've been running it for 3 days. We have it down pat. Run this way. This is where all the loot is. And I'm like,
right.
I just get scared the whole time, because I'm still trying to figure out woods perfectly. I feel like I know it, but then something else will happen.
Woods has changed, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be really fun to explore the new map for sure. But the other thing is just the performance side, the tech side of, like, how is Streets going to perform with so many individual players on it. So it's kind of a defining moment. And in the broader sense of, like, what I feel like they want to do with this game, which is more open world and more connected zones and more nested zones, like labs being inside Streets of Tarkov. You have to go through streets to get to labs. I think I've read somewhere that was their intent. Like, this is a big moment, for how a lot of that stuff is going to play out, how possible it's going to be. And are we going to be able to handle the load of 40 players? Because the desyncs are already a big thing people complain about, right? And so is that going to be worse when there's 40 people all trying to do things? Plus, I can't even imagine how many scavs on this giant map. All that stuff takes power and processing needs, right? And so it's going to be a big tech demo, I think, and it's also going to be a big gameplay demo on, how the size or the scale of things as they get much bigger is going to affect, sort of the future of Tarkov and where they want to go. So we'll see. It should be really interesting, though.
As a game developer, have you been impressed with what they've been able to accomplish? Because I feel like there's been people who have said, like, they should have never even been able to build this game, the way that they did, and they somehow did it. And some people are bashing them for it. Some people are saying they need to switch their engine. I know you can find a huge array of opinions across the board, but you're a developer, so I'd really like to hear your opinion on that.
No, I'm massively impressed. The quality of the game, considering, like, what I imagined to be originally a smaller budget, a smaller team. Now they have a much bigger budget because they've done so well. But I'm pretty impressed. And the engine thing, the thing with Unity is it's extremely powerful, but it requires people that are masters of it to get the most out of it. So but it does seem like they have some very, very proficient people working behind the scenes that are able to get a lot out of Unity. So I've been pretty impressed. Like, and it's just not a AAA game, right? It started out, it's making money really well now, but it didn't start out as, you know, one of the big boys in terms of like budget and size and, you know, quality and art and everything else. So they've done an amazing job. And I'm also just really impressed with some very specific things that Nikita has said in terms of the game design. And this goes back to him having the right amount of ego. You know, a couple things he said is, you know, it's not designed to be fun, right? Which I love. You know, if you break down that specific phrase, it's pretty amazing. But the other thing is, the other thing he said that I love is when he's making changes to a thing, if all the complaints go away, he knows he's gone too far and he needs to dial it back, right? Like there has to be the right amount of complaining,
right? Yes, for
a feature to be working properly. And I love that because Utopia is so boring, right? This is one of the things I've learned. When you do all the things that players want because they're annoyed, if you take out every moment that is negative in the experience, right, the game is just super boring, right? And the simplest support of this is just like, nobody likes dying, you know, but if you take dying out of the game, you're not left with much, right?
Yeah. So, what's the point? Yeah.
Yeah. It gets really silly really fast. So they seem to have a really good handle on that sweet spot, which is absolutely one of Tarkov's strengths. Tarkov's strength is all about being right on that edge of like, I'm terrified. I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm wishing for the best. I'm planning for the worst, you know, and it makes the victories just so sweet and the defeats so agonizing, right?
Right, yeah.
And that creates that range of emotional experiences that's possible within what I think are some of the best games, you know, out there today, as opposed to games that just they deliver a consistently mediocre experience, right? Where it's just like, you know, you're not really excited. You're not really, you know, terrified. You're not really bummed out about anything. It's just, yeah, I'm just getting my stuff and going through the motions, you know, and right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. None of that crap here. Not even in your hideout.
Right. So Tarkov is special in that regard. And that's one of its incredible strengths. And so we shouldn't be trying to chip away at that by making everything easier, taking away the pain points, you know, as people call them.
That's true. So I was around long before BattlEye, and
okay,
we had really ugly moments in Tarkov. So now anytime somebody complains about hackers, I truly think, you know, it should have been around before because it was actually really bad then. It was really bad then. And not all the time. It was just in waves. I don't know what it is with hackers, but they just come in waves. And knowing that does make me feel better. But I shit you not, because I don't know the gaming world. 3 years ago, let's put it this way. 3 years ago, I loaded into PUBG and I died because I didn't know how to jump.
Right.
So I'm still completely new. So a few years ago, people were complaining about hackers, and I thought, I guess Tarkov's the only one that has hackers, because, you know, they're just always complaining about it. And I remember asking my husband, like, why are they always complaining about hackers? And he's like, there's hackers in every game. And I was like, is there really? And he's like, yeah, every game out there has hackers in it. And I remember BattlEye coming along, and a lot of us were just so excited because we could see the difference immediately. But I feel like we're still going through those waves. And even Nikita has said he spent 60% of his time fighting hackers and RMT and like the whole 9 yards. Now, sorry for my ignorance, but did you guys ever fight that in WoW?
No, for sure, yeah. And here's the key thing. One, hackers are always a thing. There's just always a group that would rather win no matter, you know, what, right? So they're going to use cheats or hacks, anything available to them. The other thing that's unique about Tarkov is there's additional value outside of the experience, right? Like progression has value, the currency has value. and these are real world values, not virtual value, right? So people pay money for rubles essentially. And so in WoW, like the World of Warcraft gold piece, a lot of people don't know, but had more value than several real countries. Their one unit of their currency, like the Italian lira, was not as valuable as the World of Warcraft gold piece, right? Because again, people were paying money to get gold, so that establishes a value, right? And so same thing here. And the more successful Tarkov is, the more people want to play it, and the more people want to be successful at it, the more that value goes up, right? So, and that's going to attract the businesses that employ, hackers to acquire resources quickly and then RMT them, right, to various people that want to buy them. So it's just a fact of life. It's kind of a measure of, your success in a way, because it's like, if there's tons of people hacking your game, then there's a lot of value in it. People like value. So
that's one way to look at it. That is. I know the way he looked when he said that. This is he wants to finish Tarkov. People give him a lot of shit and they say, like, when is this going to release? This is just a beta. And he truly wants to finish this game. And to know that he's just held up by all this bullshit, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
People's egos just blows my mind. And I don't know how I would deal with it. I just don't.
It's difficult. But consistently he's shown that he has what it takes, right, to be where he is and doing the thing he wants to do. So, but yeah, the more success, the more everything scales up. The time required on just maintaining what you have and interacting with your community and dealing with cheaters, as they grow in numbers. And so yeah, it's just an economy of scale, and he needs to make sure that he, the best thing he can do is, of course, delegate and hire good people to manage as much of that stuff for him, intelligently and as he would wish, so that he can get back to him and the team can get back to focusing on the things they want to do to push the game forward. And of course, COVID has slowed them down as well, which is another just giant problem. But
yeah, that has been a problem for everybody, and go figure, especially for a game dev, when everybody's staying at home and now they're playing the game, and now your team is hindered by the damn thing. Yeah, that definitely was not fun, and I know that they're still fighting a lot of it. I would say, again, my gaming industry ignorance, just didn't know that I thought devs just interacted a lot with their communities, and I keep hearing, left and right. I've been doing a lot of casting for different things throughout Twitch, and people will say, oh my God, I had one guy go, I cannot believe that you're able to talk to the devs of Tarkov. And I said, why? And they're like, that just isn't a thing. People don't just randomly get to talk to devs. And I was like, they truly care about their community. Their community outreach has been something that they've really pushed hard this last year, and I'm grateful for it. But yeah, so here we are. I'm in love with the game. I know nothing per se about the gaming world that maybe somebody that's been in it for 20 years like yourself, especially somebody that's developed. And again, when you started talking about this stuff, I thought I'd never stop to think about high-level psychology of a gamer or what the devs are facing from that.
Right.
Either. Do you have anything that I don't know, what would you say to Nikita if you could just sit down and BS with him for a couple hours?
Oh gosh, mostly just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing awesome, but yeah, talking to game devs, it's certainly increased. The visibility of game devs has increased quite a bit in the last 10, 15 years with social media and everything else. But I think I think a lot of people are still really confused about the internal process, right? Which, like how many Tarkov devs do you know? I mean, we know Nikita, and who else?
Right. Yeah. Most of it is just the team that works with the community.
Yeah. So it's like, and those guys, like, people will assume Nikita's actually in there programming, and then he's designing something, and then he's making, you know, an art asset for a hat, you know, like they think he's just doing it all, right? Like,
yeah, I host a show. They're like, Sigma, go fix the servers. I'm like,
right.
How did you know that I work on servers? This is amazing.
Right. Yeah. And so, there's a lot of extremely talented people working behind the scenes that you will never know their names or their faces or connect with them in any way, right? And they're doing massive amounts of work, you know. All of our accolades and all of our blame goes straight to basically Nikita. Like, that's it.
Right.
And that's actually good for the team itself, because they're very busy and they have a ton of work to do, right?
Right.
And so they don't need to spend half their time massaging our egos on forums or on Reddit or whatever it is, you know, like to make sure we're happy, you know, which is an impossible goal.
Yeah, that's true.
They just need to work all day and keep, you know, grinding away at the stuff they're doing an awesome job at, right? So I think, yeah, most people are pretty confused. They just think there's one guy making all this stuff. And but yeah, the reality is, yeah, Nikita is a face of this whole thing, and I think he's doing a good job at being that face. And he also has a really solid vision of what he wants. I think it's proven to be very successful with Tarkov, so he should know that he's on the right track. I would tell him to keep at it, you know, keep at the original vision. There's a million people that are going to want him to change the game into something that they think they want instead of what it is. Like, some people really want a battle royale mode for Tarkov, and it's like, no, don't do that. Don't waste resources on making a battle royale mode. Like, just
please
double down on what you have already, which is magical and is working and is successful and is amazing and is also very unique. The only other game I know like this is Hunt Showdown. And I haven't played that one yet, but it's like, this is a potential, like, brand new genre, right? That people should be paying attention to. That's very unique and it's very distinct from all the other shooters out there. So, yeah, stop trying to make it into something else that's already out there that we've played a million versions of, and you know, didn't have the staying power to keep us away from Tarkov, which is why we're here and what we love, and we want more of this, right? So yeah, just be confident that it's working, and keep at it, you know. And again, just double down. So
Lupo the other night was playing and he got so mad. I know that doesn't shock anybody, but he got so mad and he fucked this game and this is bullshit and the whole night. And he'll say, "Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning." You know,
that's right.
Sure shit, you come right back, laugh and giggle, and have some amazing raids and everything's fine again. FYI, I did play Hunt. My husband's been a Hunt player for like 2 years. Nice. Absolutely scared the living shit out of me.
Nice.
I saw the butcher. I was screaming and crying all at the same time. Literally, yeah, it was an absolute wreck. However, I think you're right, because he said that a few times. Like, there's nothing I can find out here other than Hunt. And the gunplay in Hunt is like amazing. Those fights really do last long, which I think a lot of us Tarkov players, you know, we love a long fight. So
right,
you know, unless you're a Val gamer or VSS gamer yeah, but anyway, I didn't want to take up your whole night. I was just really intrigued by everything that you were saying. So chat, I hope that you go and check him out, go throw him a follow. And actually, if one of your mods has your YouTube link, because I know that you made a YouTube video out of it,
right,
I am be more than happy to put that throughout my chat as well. I think people need to check out the original talk that we were talking about today.
Yeah, I can pop it into your chat.
One of my mods, just give Kevin permission.
I watched Pestily over the weekend again. I was watching a little bit of his raid series and just talking about like how consistently Tarkov can make you emotional, because he's doing his raid series, and you know, for him it's more than just playing. It's a business too, right? And so his business is being the best. His business is being pro and succeeding as much as possible. And he got a bad spawn on customs, and he didn't see a guy, and he got killed within the first minute, right? and he was so pissed, right? But the next raids he went on, he was extra alert and extra, on his game, right? And extra pumped to get it done. And then he knocked out 3 quests, and you could just see how excited he was to get through it, right? And that's the range, and it still applies even to someone like Pestily, right? Who you'd expect to have just a phenomenal win rate, and just everything to just be going through the motions, like he's barely looking at the screen. That's what you kind of expect from people at the top of the game. But Tarkov is so good in that respect, at making sure the best people in the game, still have to be on their game. They still have to stay focused and still have to invest, and can still be surprised. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, it is. I know Veritas actually did I want to say it was a 5-part series on Nikita saying that Tarkov wasn't meant to be fun. Yeah. And watching that watching Veritas go through and explain what he actually meant was really interesting to me, because it wasn't just that basic word of fun that we all associate with. Fun can be finally fucking surviving, or like you said, finally getting that task done. If you drug your 2 black legs out of there, you were almost dead, but you accomplished it. That's super fun.
Limping all the way across woods, right? Like
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and another sign of a great game is having fun when you're losing, right? How many times have you died in Tarkov and been like, that was a great fight?
Yes.
Yep. And you just lost everything, right? Yep. Your friends are still playing. They're getting to loot everything, like you have every reason to be super pissed, right? But you're like, oh, that was a great fight. I'm excited for the next one, right? So that's another true sign of an amazing game.
That's interesting. Yeah, there's been plenty of times I've said that. I don't care if I die, chat, as long as there's a good fight. That's the thing about hackers, is they take away that good fight.
Right. Yeah.
That's the thing that, Tarkov players love, is that getting into it, and then you also don't want to get into it. I know there's still, as we call them, rats out there, but hey. Anyway, Kevin, I will let you go back to your stream. I know that you have a lot to do, but thank you so much. And I'm going to come.
It was such a pleasure.
I'll come bother you again soon.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It's been fun. And nice to meet you too.
You too. We'll talk soon.
All right. See you later.
All right. Bye.